Please help me to reach 1,000 subscribers. The moment that broke my marriage didn't come with shouting or tears. It came with silence. We were standing in the middle of her work celebration. Cheap champagne, fairy lights taped badly to the office walls, co-workers laughing too loud because they'd been drinking since noon. She was glowing that night. New promotion. New confidence. New distance I hadn't yet learned how to name. Her boss raised a glass and asked her to say a few words. She smiled, reached into her bag to grab her phone, probably to read notes, and then she froze. Not a polite pause. Not a moment of distraction. Her hand stopped mid-motion. Fingers clenched around something inside the bag. Her smile slipped just enough for me to notice. Her eyes flicked to me for half a second, then away. That's when my chest tightened. Because I knew that look. I'd been seeing pieces of it for months. It started small. Missed calls she blamed on meetings. Texts she'd answer facing away from me. Her phone suddenly locked, always face down, always dead, when I reached for it. I told myself I was imagining things. I wanted to believe that. We'd been married 9 years. You don't throw that away over vibes and gut feelings. But my gut had been screaming. She used to call me during lunch just to complain about work. Then suddenly she forgot. She'd come home later, smelling like a different soap, laughing at jokes she wouldn't explain. When I asked, she'd say, "You're overthinking again." So I started questioning myself instead. Am I insecure? Am I boring now? Is this just what success looks like when one partner grows faster than the other? That night at the celebration, I stood there clapping with everyone else, watching her hand still frozen inside her bag. Her boss cleared his throat. "Everything okay?" She jumped like she'd been burned, pulled her hand out empty, laughed too quickly. "Yeah, sorry. Nerves." She gave her speech without her phone. Her voice shook. She didn't look at me once. I knew then. I didn't know what yet, but I knew something was living in that bag that didn't belong in our marriage. At home, she went straight to the shower. I stood in the kitchen, staring at her bag on the chair like it was breathing. I told myself not to do it. I did it anyway. Inside, under her wallet, I found a second phone. Not hidden well. Not hidden at all, just assumed unseen. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. No lock. No password. The first message on the screen said, "Did he notice?" I sat down on the floor. Scrolled. Months of messages. Inside jokes. Complaints about me. About how I wouldn't understand. How I was safe but dull. Late night plans labeled as work drinks. Pictures she never sent me. A voice note where she laughed in a way I hadn't heard in years. It wasn't just sex. That hurt more. When she came out of the shower, towel wrapped around her hair, she stopped when she saw me on the floor. She didn't ask what I was holding. She just whispered, "I can explain." I looked up at her and felt something old and precious crack. "Explain what?" I said quietly. "Which part?" She sat across from me. Started crying. Told me it just happened. That she felt seen. That she didn't mean for it to go so far. That she still loved me. I listened. I really did. But all I could think about was that moment at the celebration. How she'd reached into her bag and realized, for one terrifying second, that her two lives might collide. And how the fear on her face wasn't about losing me. It was about being exposed. We didn't scream. We didn't throw things. We sat there surrounded by 9 years of memories that suddenly felt counterfeit. I asked her one question. "If I hadn't found this," I said, holding up the phone, "how long would you have let me stay stupid?" She couldn't answer. That was my answer. I moved out 2 weeks later. Quietly. No announcements. No dramatic exits. Just boxes. Echoes. A ring left on the counter. Some nights I still remember the way she used to reach for my hand in crowds. How she'd smile at me across rooms. But now I also remember her frozen expression at that celebration. The exact second her secret almost surfaced. That's the image that stays. Because betrayal doesn't always arrive loud. Sometimes it arrives in a pause. A still hand. A bag holding a life you were never meant to see. And the moment you finally do, you don't break. You wake up.